Picture the most important road in the world, not the longest, not the most beautiful, not the one with the best scenery, the most important. The one that, if it closed tomorrow, would cause fuel prices to spike on every continent, would empty shelves in supermarkets from Seoul to Lagos to London, would shut factories in China, darken hospitals in Bangladesh, and push millions of ordinary families closer to the edge. This road is the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has blocked the passage of vessels carrying 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas supplies. And in the latest development, 3 vessels were stopped at the entrance and turned back, not attacked, not seized, just turned back, told you do not have permission. Goodbye. Nearly 2,000 vessels are stranded close to the narrow strait, located between Iran on its north side and Oman and the United Arab Emirates on its south side. Before the US-Israeli war on Iran began, approximately 130 ships a day passed through the strait. Every single day, like a motorway, a constant, flowing, global conveyor belt of energy. And now, only 16 crossings by ships with their automatic identification system switched on were observed in the entire week, from 130 ships a day to 16 in 7 days. That is not a disruption. That is a near-total shutdown. And Iran is not just blocking ships. It has built an entire system to decide who passes and who does not. A system so specific, so organized, so breathtakingly audacious that analysts are calling it something that would have sounded like fiction 6 months ago. Iran has turned the world's most critical shipping lane into a toll booth. Ships approaching the strait must submit to a vetting scheme run by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Once the ship is in the strait, IRGC commanders yell out over VHF radio, asking for the vessel's clearance code. The ship answers. And, if approved, a boat from Iran arrives to escort the vessel through Iranian territorial waters around Larak Island. A clearance code, shouted over VHF radio. In the middle of a global shipping lane, if ships don't clear the IRGC Navy's screening test, they are not allowed to pass. And one ship found that out directly this week. The container ship Selen. Full coordination with Iran's maritime authority. Not international maritime law, not the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, not the principles of freedom of navigation that the entire global trading system is built on. Iran's authority, Iran's clearance, Iran's permission, and then there is the fee. An Iranian lawmaker told a satellite TV channel that the country has been charging some vessels $2 million to pass through the strait. Now, because war has costs, naturally, we must do this and take transit fees from ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media reported that parliament is planning to formalize fees for ships passing through the strait. Formalize, not a wartime improvisation, a permanent system, written into law, with fees, with codes, with escorts, with the power to turn any ship in the world away. 24 miles wide. And Iran has turned it into a border crossing with a $2 million visa fee. Now, let us talk about the most fascinating and revealing part of this entire story. Who is Iran actually letting through? Because the blockade is not total. Ships are passing, some of them, carefully selected. And the selection criteria tells you everything about Iran's strategic thinking. Iran's foreign minister said Iran has let India, China, Russia, and other friendly nations send ships through the Strait of Hormuz. But vessels linked to its adversaries would not be allowed to transit. Friendly nations and adversaries. Let us go through the list, because it reads like a geopolitical map of the entire world order right now. A total of 11 China-linked vessels transited through the Strait of Hormuz, mostly general cargo. Iran reportedly allowed only Chinese vessels to pass through, citing China's supportive stance toward Iran since the conflict intensified. India. Iran's ambassador confirmed Indian vessels were allowed to pass. 2 Indian-flagged tankers carrying liquefied petroleum gas crossed safely, with India's shipping ministry confirming they were en route to India. A Pakistan-flagged Aframax tanker laden with crude from Abu Dhabi became the first confirmed non-Iranian cargo vessel to transit the choke point while broadcasting its location. One Turkish-owned vessel was permitted to transit after calling at an Iranian port. 14 additional Turkish-owned vessels remain in the region awaiting clearance. Russia, confirmed. Friendly nation, cleared. South Korea. Iran's ambassador said Tehran considers South Korea a non-hostile country, and South Korean ships could pass if they coordinate with Iran's authorities. Do you see what is happening here? Iran is not just blocking ships. Iran is redrawing the map of global alliances. One vessel at a time, every country that gets through is a country that Iran considers either neutral or sympathetic. Every country that gets blocked is a country on America and Israel's side. The Strait of Hormuz has become a physical, operational manifestation of the world's political fault lines. The Global South, largely getting through. The Western Alliance, largely stuck outside. But here is where it gets even more intriguing, because not everyone waiting for permission is playing by Iran's rules. Windward confirmed the presence of 8 dark ships, vessels exceeding 290 meters long, operating in the strait with their automatic identification system switched off. Dark ships, vessels that have deliberately turned off the technology that broadcasts their location, that tells the world who they are, where they are going, what they are carrying, invisible by choice. One US-sanctioned ship was observed near the UAE's Khor Fakkan port, an important hub for oil tankers, before turning off its AIS. A sanctioned vessel going dark near a major oil hub. In normal times, dark ships are a red flag for smuggling, for sanctions evasion, for moving things that should not be moved. In a war, they are something else. They are the shadow economy of a conflict, the part that nobody officially acknowledges, that does not appear in press releases or UN statements, but that keeps the world's energy supply fractionally, quietly, moving. And while ships wait and dark vessels slip through, the economic damage accumulates with brutal efficiency. Oil prices have soared to nearly $120 per barrel as a result of these disruptions. Saudi Arabia had to shut the Ras Tanura refinery, its largest facility, which processes 550,000 barrels per day. The UAE has closed down its largest refinery and rerouted oil through pipelines instead of exporting through the Gulf. Qatar, the world's second-largest LNG exporter, has had to shut down production entirely. And the knock-on effects are cascading through Asia with particular force. Qatar and the UAE account for 30% of China's LNG imports, 53% of India's, 72% of Bangladesh's, and 14% of South Koreans. This is not a story about oil companies and tanker routes. This is a story about 170 million people in Bangladesh who cook their food, heat their water, and run their hospitals on gas that is no longer arriving. And Bangladesh is just one country. Now, the legal dimension, because this is genuinely important and genuinely complicated. Iran's Revolutionary Guards began issuing radio transmissions stating that ship passages through the Strait of Hormuz were not allowed. Although the closure is not legally binding, military and industry sources say that safety cannot be guaranteed. Not legally binding. That is the key phrase. Because under international law, the Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. Ships have the right of transit passage. Always. Regardless of who controls the coastline. That is the foundational principle of global maritime trade. Iran's threat to obstruct navigation or target commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz could breach its international obligations and constitute a wrongful act, meaning affected states may seek cessation, assurances of non-repetition, and reparation for economic losses. But here is the reality of international law in a shooting war. You can be completely, unambiguously a textbook right under international law, and still have no ships moving through your strait, because the other side has missiles, and mines, and fast attack boats, and does not particularly care about the International Law Commission's 2001 draft articles right now. Law is only as powerful as the enforcement mechanism behind it. And right now, The enforcement mechanism is a US military that cannot even get its NATO allies to send warships. Here, 3 events in the last 48 hours, taken together, tell you everything about where this crisis is heading. Event 1. Iran stops 3 more vessels from entering the strait. Event 2. The US military continues its campaign to reopen the strait by force. Event 3. Israel kills Iran's top naval commander. Let us talk about that third one, because it changes things. On March 26th, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that Iranian Navy Commander Alireza Tangsiri had been killed in an airstrike, accusing him of being directly responsible for the Strait of Hormuz closure. Alireza Tangsiri, the man who built the toll booth, the man who was personally posting on social media about turning ships away, the man who designed and ran the IRGC's entire naval control operation over the strait. Gone. Israel said Tangsiri was killed along with other senior officers of the Naval Command. An entire command structure, eliminated in one strike. Now, the obvious military logic is clear. You remove the commander, you disrupt the chain of command, you create confusion in Iran's naval operations. Ships start moving again. But here is the less obvious reality. The Strait of Hormuz operation is not run by one man. It is run by an institution, the IRGC Navy, which has thousands of personnel, which has been controlling this strait for weeks, which has a doctrine, a system, a network of fast attack boats, and drone operators, and missile batteries. That did not disappear when Tangsiri's phone went silent. As one analyst at the International Institute for Strategic Studies put it, it is described as a choke point for a good reason. There are supposedly a lot of choke points around the world, but you could argue that this is a uniquely challenging one, because there are no alternatives. No alternatives. That is the sentence that should be printed above every desk in every government trying to solve this problem. There is no other route, no bypass, no pipeline that replaces 20% of the world's oil supply. The Strait of Hormuz is about 24 miles across at its narrowest point, and almost all traffic goes through 2 main shipping lanes that are even more squeezed now. The United States has been running a military campaign specifically designed to reopen the strait. Since March 19th, U.S. CENTCOM deployed A-10 Thunderbolt Dassault jets to strike fast attack watercraft and Apache gunships to handle one-way attack drones. The Pentagon used GBU-72 5,000-pound penetrator munitions on underground missile silos along the Iranian coast, penetrating layers of rock and concrete to destroy bunkers storing cruise missiles and anti-ship missiles. 5,000-pound penetrator bombs on underground bunkers along the coast. That is a serious, sustained campaign by any measure. And yet, the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed for almost 4 weeks, throwing global oil markets into chaos, and there is no clear end in sight. 4 weeks of bombing of A-10s and Apaches and 5,000-pound bunker busters. And the strait is still effectively closed. That tells you something important about the nature of this problem. It is not a problem you can bomb away entirely, because Iran's ability to threaten ships does not live in any single base or bunker. It lives in fast attack boats that hide in coves, in drones launched from moving vehicles, in mines already floating in the water, in a coastline that stretches for hundreds of kilometers. Iran's unconventional warfare methods, cheap drones and sea mines, combined with its geography, give it the upper hand in many ways. The upper hand in a war where America has the most powerful military in human history. Because military supremacy and geographic advantage are 2 completely different things. And in the Strait of Hormuz, geography wins. Now I want to hear from you. Drop every single thought in the comments below. If this breakdown cut through the noise and gave you the full picture that the headlines alone never could, please hit that like button right now. It genuinely directly helps this work reach more people who deserve to understand what is happening in their world. And if you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications immediately. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay sharp, and we will see you in the next one.